Hey, what's going on, everybody? Thanks for checking the video out today. I'm going to be talking about an old 1949 Ford F1 pickup truck that we are finishing up on. This truck has been a long build. Um, it was a lot of work. It's been sitting for about 30 years, and it came a long way, man, and it turned out great. The owner's going to keep the truck just the way it is. He's not going to paint it. He wants that patina look, but it drives good, it runs good, and it's pretty fast because it doesn't weigh anything. And you'll see, I talk about that throughout the whole video. I just can't believe how light the truck is. It's unbelievable. I had no idea these old trucks. I always thought they were heavy, but no, that's not the case. So anyway, I'm going to start this video off by talking about cam walk on small block Chevys, or any engine really, but on a small block Chevy, they don't have a cam plate that holds the cam in place per se. It basically stays shoved against the back of the block, where it's always pushing to the back of the block. And on a flat tappet cam, the way they're designed, it does that. But anyway, I'll get into that on the video a little bit and talk about how we eliminated that, because we were having an issue when I first started it to break the engine in. I noticed the timing was moving around a lot on this, mainly from where I was setting it at idle. I was trying to get it around 15-16 degrees idle before top dead center, and the timing was dropping down to 5 degrees, 2 degrees, 0, and then of course it would stall, at that point. And I was getting cam walk. So I actually originally put a button between, a cam button between the camshaft and the timing cover. And that's what you have to do when you do a roller camshaft. Well, it was flexing the timing cover out. It was a stock timing cover, nice and thick, but it was flexing it out just enough to get cam walk. So I ended up changing it. We put another timing cover on it. I'll show you that in the video, and it fixed the problem. At that point, once we finished up with that, I pulled it outside, set everything up, got everything good to go, made sure the timing was good, and then we take the truck for a ride. So anyway, I don't want to waste any more time, so let's get to the video. Doing a roller cam in an old school small block Chevy. It's kind of what this video is going to be about. A lot of you small block guys know about this. So the old school small block Chevys, of course, they all had flat tappet cams in them. And with the style of flat tappet cams, the way they work, the lobes have a little bit of an angle to them. On the cam lobes, they're not completely flat. Can't really tell unless you put a micrometer on them and you check from one side of the lobe all the way to the other. You'll see that it's going to be a little bit less on one side. So they do that, and also the lifters. The lifters are not perfectly flat on the bottom. They have a little crown right in the middle. There again, you can't really see. You want to check with a micrometer or a straight edge. And you'll see where it's just got a little crown on the top, on the center of that lifter. And also, the cam lobes don't ride exactly center of the lifter bore. They're offset a little bit. And the reason for that is when the engine is running, the lifters and the bore, they spin constantly. That's how they keep from getting wiped out. So with that spinning going on and the way everything works on these, the cam is forced to the back of the engine at all times. So there's not they don't have a cam thrush plate on small block Chevys. They only started installing a cam thrush plate on the small block Chevys in the mid 80s when they switched to roller camshafts, from the factory. Then they put cam thrush plates on the front of the motor to keep the cam from walking forward or back. So what happens is the cam is forced to the back of the engine, and it does ride on the face of the block right there, and the oil keeps it lubricated. You know, it doesn't grind into the metal, it keeps it lubricated. It's very tight tolerance, probably 1/1000th to 3/1000ths, maybe, if that much. So when you do a roller camshaft in an old school small block Chevy motor, you have to do a cam button. The cam button will ride right in the center of the 3 bolts on the sprocket, pushing against the front of the cam, and then it pushes on the inside of the timing cover. And you have to get the correct size, or you can get a nylon button and you can actually shave it down to the correct size. You want to have about 1/1000 to 3/1000ths clearance there. And the way you do that is you have the lifters out, of course, you have, you know, the intake off, or at least the distributor out. And then once you put your timing cover on, you can reach in there and move the cam back and forth. And you want to have a dial indicator on it on the back of the engine without the freeze plug, the cam plug in. You can check and get your correct movement of the cam. So anyway, that's what I did when I built this motor. And I've got the timing cover that I bought is a brand new one. It's a steel and it's pretty thick. I mean, this thing ain't no joke. It's a thick timing cover, but it's just a stock stamped steel one. Well, I cranked this thing up, the motor, and I broke it in. Ran great, everything was good. But I noticed while it was breaking in, you know, I had it elevated about 2,000 to 2,500, fluctuating back and forth, and to seat the rings in, you know. And so did that for about 20 minutes. I kind of noticed it was fluctuating up and down, the RPMs a little bit, when I held it steady at least. Not bad. But once I broke it in, let it idle, I was adjusting everything, it started fluctuating. The idle start dropping down like it was trying to stall. And at first I thought it was the carburetor. Played with that, you know, played with the springs in the distributor, put some tighter springs in there. Anyway, I'm looking at the timing light, and I'm sitting there at about 16 degrees at idle, 16 before top dead center. That's where I wanted to set it. And out of nowhere, as the engine starts to die, the timing is just retarding bad. Like it's dropping down to 5 degrees before top dead, 0 degrees. And I knew at that point, I said, I got cam walk going on. So I got to looking, and I couldn't really physically see it. But what was happening was this timing cover was flexing out. I wouldn't have thought there'd be that much pressure on it, but there is. And I've talked to some other guys. And yeah, sure enough, the timing cover was flexing out, which was causing the cam to walk forward. Not very much, and it doesn't take very much for your timing change. But that's what was happening. So what I did was I bought a Cloyes timing cover for this small block 350. We just finished putting it back together. We pulled the radiator back out. It was easier just to get the radiator out and pull everything off the front of the motor. And I'm going to show you this timing cover. This thing is really cool. They've been around for a long time. If you get on YouTube, you can see there's guys been using these things. This timing cover is an aluminum timing cover, and it has a center plate right in the middle of it, a big round center plate that is removable off the timing cover, and it has an adjustable cam button that you adjust it from the outside once you put it on. And what they say to do is, obviously you want the cam pushed all the way back. Once you get everything in place, you screw the button against the cam, and then you turn it back about 1/8 of a turn. And that will give you, at 1/8 of a turn, it actually gives you more clearance, right, on the high side. But But they say that when you start these up and once you get to operating temperature with the aluminum and everything, it kind of tightens up a little bit. So the rule is you want 1/1000th to 3/1000th clearance at idle, or you want 1/1000th to 3/1000th clearance at operating temperature. So anyway, I want to show you what this thing looks like. I kind of should have showed you before we put it on, but we just had to get it done. I needed to get this thing done, get this thing to the customer. So I went ahead and just did it. Didn't want to bother recording doing it. So anyway, I'm going to show you what it looks like, for you guys who haven't seen it before. And it's kind of a cool piece. I mean, it's still the same thickness as the stock one. It has the same clearance between the cover and the water pump. Can't really see anything there. But yeah, it's cool. It didn't come with the Allen head bolts. There's 10 of them that hold it on. It did not come with those. But it did come with, you know, the 4 bolts that hold the center cover on that you can remove. I'll just kind of show you right now. I'll throw a picture up here of what it looks like. So yeah, that's what it looks like. I should have showed you guys before we put it on, whatever. I didn't think about it. But yeah, that's pretty cool. Haven't started it up yet, but that should fix the problem. Because I didn't have that much cam walk on this at all. But once things get heated up and everything's going on, the factory timing cover was just flexing. Now they do make some sort of a bolt or some kind of a kit that will go on the back of the water pump that you can actually adjust to push against the timing cover. But I didn't want to do that. You know, I'd rather do this the right way, and I feel like this is the right way. It's a pretty cool kit. So we gotta kind of wrap this up. I still got to put coolant in it. We got one more hose clamp to put on, and then we're gonna push this thing outside, crank it up, and I'm gonna check it with the timing light. So I got this thing outside. It's all wrapped up. Man, it worked out good. So I don't know if I mentioned before, but you know, on these small block Chevys, you're really supposed to drop the oil pan down somewhat to get the timing cover on and off, because they do have a lip on the timing cover that kind of wraps, you know, kind of wrapped around and down on the back side of the front of the oil pan. Well, with this particular oil pan, I did use a Felpro oil pan gasket. It's a one piece. It's basically rubber, or it's silicone with a metal core. And those things work great. I use them on small block Fords. I use them on just about everything. And you can reuse them. That's what's good about it. So we had enough room to lower the oil pan down. I basically left it attached up in the back. I loosened it a little bit, but I kind of let the bolts get longer and longer and longer. And then I took out like the first 3 or 4 bolts on the front of the motor. Got that thing dropped down quite a bit, because up in the corners of the main cap in the back, you have to dab some silicone up in there, and I didn't want to break that seal, although the silicone is in between the oil pan gasket and the block, or the main cap, right? So that stayed all intact up there, no problem. On the front side, you know, there's a little bit up in the corner where I was able to clean that up, of course. And once we put the oil pan or the timing cover back on, had everything cleaned up nice, put a little dab of silicone, got the oil pan back up in there, torqued everything down, and I let it sit overnight. Actually, it sat overnight and all the next day. We had other stuff going on, and then once it sat up real good, you know, we topped the coolant off, you know, like we talked about earlier, and you know, got oil back in it, and it was all good to go. So I fired this thing up, you could tell instantly, it took care of it. When I put the timing light back on, I did have to readjust the timing just a little bit because it had, it had changed since the cam is now, all the way towards the back. So you basically got to make sure the cam is all the way towards the back of the block where it needs to be. And then when you put that timing cover on and you set the end play, you're good to go. And no problem. I got the timing set at 16 degrees idle. That's where it likes it for this cam. I've got the distributor locked in at about 30 degrees total because we're only going to run 89 octane on this motor. The customer don't want to spend the money. He don't even want to spend the money on 89. He'd rather do 87, but I said, no, you need to kind of do 89. Chevrolet, small block Chevys, they like a lot of timing. They like 35 degrees, 36, 34 to 36, whatever. So we got this one locked in at about 30 to 32. The higher the RPM, the more to go up, but it won't go up much more than about 32 degrees. And 10.3 to 1 compression is what the motor has. That'd be plenty safe. And I've already got this thing set up, and it runs great. Put the timing light on it, there's no movement at all. The idle stays steady, no movement on the timings, doesn't retard, it doesn't fluctuate, nothing. So that definitely took care of it. I've already had this thing out, drove it around, made sure it's all good. So yeah, that's pretty much it. I got it sitting right outside here, and yeah, it's ready to go. We got new tires on the front, we got new tires on the back. All the brakes are new, everything. This thing, it doesn't look that great, but man, it drives good and it runs really good. And believe it or not, it gets a lot of looks. I tell you, a lot of people, they point to it, like, oh, look at that. Who knows if they're saying what they're saying, but when they hear it, man, they thumbs up. Man, it's cool. Stopped at a, gassed it up, and people come over and asking what year it is, and it's pretty cool. He's gonna definitely enjoy it for sure. So we got the exhaust on it. It's good to go. We did a 2.5 inch exhaust with an H pipe, and we have 40 series Flowmasters and then turn downs. It dumps right before the rear axle. So I'm gonna go ahead and jump in this thing. We're gonna crank it up and we're gonna take it for a ride. It's getting a little late, but it's all good. So let's get to it. So I had to turn the truck around and check the lights because I totally forgot. I've been meaning to check the headlights to see if they're aimed right, because we just put them in, and the buckets, the factory buckets, were hadn't been changed, and it's got an adjustment for high and low, an adjustment for left and right, and the driver's side bucket, the adjuster is broke on the high and low, but everything's tight, it doesn't move around. And I wanted to make sure the headlights were aimed properly before I took off, because obviously it's getting a little bit dark, but they seem to be. I pulled up against the garage door, they're both aimed even, so that's a good sign. And once it gets really dark, I'll be able to tell. That's kind of why I'm staying here until it gets dark, because I want to make sure. But it looks like they're starting to hit the street right about here, which is not too far from it. So that's actually really good right there. And then they just kind of blend right on out. And when I get out here and I kind of pretend I'm a car coming down the road, they're not blinding me at all. So that's a good sign. Obviously if I get straight on in front of it, it gets a little bit bright, but right here it's fine. That's good to go. So yeah, I was kind of worried about that, because if especially if the driver's side, if it needs to be aimed up or down, we're gonna have to get another bucket, because there's nothing left of the adjuster or the attachment to the bucket. It's completely rusted, gone. So that's pretty cool. All right, well, let's go ahead and get in this thing and go for a ride. Of course, it does have the halos, which is like daytime running lights, and those will stay on, because they're actually, when we turn the parking lights on, that's when they come on. and we could have put them on a separate switch, you know, just to run that, or on a key switch. But what's the difference, you know? He's not going to use them for daytime running lights. He's just going to use them for parking lights, or if he wants to cruise around with the parking lights on, he can run the halos, because they actually light up pretty good. So, and it might be a little noisy. Hopefully you can hear me okay. And we're going to see if anybody hits the high beams on us. Hopefully not. I can tell they actually look pretty good out there on the road. Yeah, they don't look bad at all. I can see them shining on the road. Not too high, not too far away. This thing drives pretty good. I mean, for a manual, this big old steering wheel, as long as you're moving, it steers pretty easy. Not really a lot of play in the wheel at all. But man, I tell you what, this thing's fun. It's got that TCI transmission, nice hard shift kit, or I should say a firm shift kit. Stall converter. It really runs good. It's got a lot of throttle response. This truck does not weigh much at all. Man, it sounds good. It gets a lot of looks just because of what it looks like, but then they can hear it coming. Modulator on the transmission, so it would shift a little bit further out. With this stall converter, it was shifting a little too soon on its own when I leave it in drive, but now it shifts out perfect. And then also when you slow down, you get to a certain speed, it will actually, the modulator will actually pull it down in the second gear when you slow down. Not to confuse that with a passing gear, that's totally different. Man, them lights light up the road. Nice. Now let's see if anybody flashes us. Third gear rolling on. I'm not going to run it hard. I've played with it a little bit. I've ran it through the gears, get the RPMs up. This thing really pulls hard, man. 6,000 RPM, no problem at all. But don't really need to. This thing it's light. I would love to get one of these old trucks, because I had no idea that these were so light. They just don't weigh nothing. Man, these lights really look nice. This first time I've driven it. right up the road, man. Alright, I'm actually gonna I have to calibrate the speedometer. This is an electronic speedometer. There's a way to calibrate it. I have to push the button a certain time to get it set, and then I got to drive it 1 mile and then come to a stop and then hit the button again, and that will calibrate 1 mile of driving and get the speedometer to actually read the correct speed. So I'm gonna go ahead and pause the camera here for a minute and go ahead and set this up, because I want to head back, and there's a spot that I pull over that's exactly 1 mile, and I want to get it calibrated. Okay, I'm on the trip to the mile. As you can see, the speedometer is not working because it's in calibration mode to get the mile. I had to do one of these in an old 55 Chevy that we did. It was the same company that we installed the instrument cluster, and it was the same deal, and it works out great. That thing is dead on. I tested it with the GPS on the phone, and it was right on the money. So right up here, I've got to take a left. Right around this corner, there's a road I got to take a left on, and then go back to the cul-de-sac. And at the cul-de-sac, it's exactly 1 mile. Yep, right here. Yeah, this is cool. Kill 2 birds with 1 stone, man. I get to drive it, to check out the headlights, and go ahead and calibrate the speedometer. So I'm gonna pull over here on this cul-de-sac and stop, and then I basically hit the button 1 more time, and it should be calibrated. All right. Set in. There it is. Boom. All right, let's try it. With my phone, I set my phone up, got the GPS going, and it is reading pretty good, right on the money. I'm about 20 miles an hour through there, and I was bouncing right between 19 and 20 on the GPS. Let's get out here on the road and get up to speed and see. The GPS takes a couple of seconds to catch up. Good. 40 miles an hour. GPS is at 40 miles an hour. Awesome. Well, that's good, man. That's good. That is good. So this thing is going to be delivered tomorrow. I'm going to call him when I get back to the shop. Let him know that it's ready to go. So I waited till today because I ordered some safety latches for the hood. The factory safety latch was missing on this hood. The actual latch works great. I got it freed up, got it lubed up. But the safety latch was missing.
It just wasn't working at all, what was left of it. So I went ahead and ordered a set of safety latches for a Jeep. You know, the latches that attach to the hood from the fender. And they're cheap, they work great. And that's what I did. I put them on. I ordered black ones. And that way we don't have to worry about the hood ever flying up. So that is cool. This thing is ready to go. I've already driven this thing, I'd say about a total of 50 miles. I mean, I've been driving it back and forth around, wanting to make sure it drives good, no leaks. I cannot believe them lights. Check them lights out. That is cool. Let's try the high beams. See, I even got a high beam light right here. Got your turn signals. Pretty cool, man, pretty cool. See if you can see me. It's kind of dark out here now. Well, I'm gonna go ahead and finish this video up. Thanks for going along for the ride. So that's cool, man. I'm done with this. It is ready to go. Let me do a little walk around. I wish it wasn't so dark. Let me turn the lights, at least put the parking lights on here. I'm gonna pull it back inside. That's why I got it set up like this. And yeah, this has been a fun build. It's been a big build. I mean, we did a lot of work to it. The truck, obviously, you know, we didn't do no body work, but we did everything else on this truck. Man, it runs good, it stops good, and it drives good. New tires, brakes, suspension. Well, we did all the shocks, kingpins and bushings. All the shackles on the springs were in good shape. They all took grease. The tie rod ends, the steering link, everything was tight on it. It took grease. So all of that was definitely replaced back in the day. But yeah, man, I would really love to have this truck. I mean, or at least one like it, and build a motor. Of course, I would have a Ford motor in it because it is a Ford. But I mean, it's really cool. See if you can see the halos. It's kind of hard to see. They're so bright. But yeah, they work good. Let me turn the turn signals on, let you see what it looks like. See, so you got the halo on one, and then this one turns into an amber for the turn signal. And same on the other side. Obviously, if you take this is left turn signal, you do the right turn signal, the other side does the same thing. And see, this truck did not have turn signals back in the day. So brake lights work. Yep. You see the brake lights coming on, and that's the tag light on this side. Tag light on this side on the bottom. That's why we put the tag there. The bracket that they had for this light, they didn't think about it, as you know, obviously on the aftermarket, but the bracket needs to come down and be offset over here. Well, the bracket that they sell you that's supposed to be the one for this is not, because it comes down and it's even on both sides, and it puts the tag over the tailgate here. So I'm like, heck with it, I just bolted it right there. I've seen some other guys do the same thing, and they said they had the same problem. You know, you can't really get the correct tag bracket. I'm sure you can. LMC truck, they didn't have it. Maybe I could check with some other parts houses that do it. Got the chains on here, the way that they go, so that's cool. All right, enough is enough. I'm going to wrap this one up. I'm going to go in there and give him a call, let him know that this thing is ready to go. So he'll be coming to pick it up tomorrow. We've got nice weather tomorrow. We got nice weather all week. Saturday, it's going to get cold. It's supposed to be 26 degrees or something like Saturday morning. It's going to be in the 40s all day, and then Sunday's going to be cold. And then as far as I can see in the weather, it's going to be kind of cold all next week. So hopefully this might be the last decent week we have. I'm sure we'll get some other warm temperatures, because we've really had some nice temperatures here for this time of year. So all right, I'm gonna go ahead and end it. I appreciate you guys checking this out and sticking with me to the end. I know this has been kind of a long video talking about this old truck, but you know, it's cool. I'm kind of excited to hand it back to the guy. It's been 30 years since this thing's been on the road, man, and he's already been in the truck. We went for a ride, you know, and I just told him I had to wait for the latches, the safety latches. Oh, let me show you those real quick. I don't know if you can see them. See, they're basically just like the Jeep latches. So, yep, that's all there is. Nothing special, but hey, you know, they work, right? Cool. All right, I do appreciate it. If you guys haven't subscribed, consider subscribing to the channel. You know, leave some comments about this old beauty right here, and you know, give me a thumbs up, whatever. Don't forget to hit the notification bell so you get some notifications when the next video comes out. And we are obviously by the airport, as you can see, and here. All right, hey, I appreciate it. So you guys take it easy, and we will catch you on the next video.